I understand the fact that of having a digital footprint, like on Facebook. Like if there's a picture of what was it? Michael Phelps was smoking some weed on Facebook, and then he took a lot of heat from that. So I could see how you'd want to get rid of that footprint, but I don't obviously see how, say, Barclays would want to get rid of something in their digital footprint. But can you give me an example of something you might scrub up? Or
this leakage?
Yeah,
makes me nervous.
If
What's
you could be just a little more specific, even in a general example.
I mean, we think, say social media, mobile, cloud, these are all great things that companies should be adopting and saying yes to and getting competitive advantage, and so should individuals. So we're right on with that. I think the problem isn't so much a photo or something else going up on your Facebook wall necessarily. It's more, so for example, sensitive documents that accidentally leak out through the supply chain, for example. So we've seen instances where people have accidentally uploaded sensitive material into folders that get indexed by Google,
like a Google Drive by accident.
For example. So suddenly,
it's human errors a lot of the.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's human error, and so it's not malicious. It's just accidentally something's got out there, and we found. I mean, one of the biggest examples from the last few months was a cache of 3,000 of the documents, 3,000 documents for one of the banks. It's a UK bank, included the ATM security specification, and that had just leaked out onto the internet through accident, in fact. And we were able to get to it before it had gone anywhere, thankfully. So it's, these things are accessible, even for someone with a Google search. But if you've got more sophisticated tools, then there's a lot you can find. The other sort of things we see are leaks that help the hackers break in. So when the hackers are now planning their attacks, they're becoming far more sophisticated than they ever were before. And to mount a really targeted, sophisticated attack, you have to research the target in a lot of detail.
Just like casing a bank before you break in.
You're casing
Not
the
that
joint.
I've ever done that.
No.
It's exactly that. So it's called reconnaissance or hostile reconnaissance this phase, but it's exactly that. It's casing the joint. And that's now about 90% of the time that the bad guys spend in the attack or the operation is identifying the weak points. And that can be through usernames and passwords, or the software that the banks are running, the configuration of their systems. All of this is really valuable data to the guys trying to break in. So if you can get rid of that and you can minimize that, then you make yourself a harder target.
Is that something, say that document got out there, that collection of 3,000 documents, and you identify that it's out there and you go to remove it. Can you really scrub that data forever? Or are there so many different networks that are replicating things, not to mention Google itself, where you can never actually eradicate that?
Yeah, it can be very difficult. It really depends where it is.
Or the NSA, maybe?
That's a whole other kettle of fish.
We'll get to that later.
Oh, great. But you're right, you have to take a sort of case-by-case approach. And quite often, particularly with the banks, they would rather deal with the cleanup than leave it to us. We can work in a whole bunch of different flexible ways. They have departments that worry about this sort of thing. And actually, by trying to remove content, you can make it worse in some situations. I don't know if you've heard of the term the Streisand effect, where Barbara Streisand tried to remove some content from the internet. It became a far bigger story than it ever was originally because she tried to remove it. And so you can actually have the opposite effect by trying to take something down. But on the most part, this is illegal material that's been or confidential material that's accidentally got out and hasn't spread anywhere. And it's no one trying to spread that message. It's just something that's accidentally got out and needs to be cleaned up, and it can be. But you're right. There's always a risk that there's a copy somewhere. You have to keep an eye out.
I find this field really fascinating.
Yeah.
But he was in the back of a taxi and with Peter Stringfellow. He went in the back of the taxi. Yes, right. He was driving the taxi.
Now, people who don't know who Peter Stringfellow is, who aren't from London, could you give it as a quick description?
Pete, what is he? UFner of London?
Yeah, he runs some nightclubs and strip clubs and things like that.
That's it. So Russell would come out with something like, I had Peter Stringfellow in the back of my cab, and I didn't know whether it was his mum, his daughter, or his girlfriend, something like that.